Welcome, and thank you for coming. The headline we just saw reads, "Bullying Gone Too Far? Accused teen speaks out as charges are dropped." This 13-year-old girl claims she did nothing wrong after being accused of cyberbullying a fellow classmate so aggressively that it leads to the classmate's suicide. Surprisingly, many juveniles are getting away with committing unthinkable acts with just a slap on the hand. In her article, Laying Blame, Parental Responsibility for Children's Misleads, Michelle Fabio highlights that a 2005 study investigated public support for parental punishment legislation. The researchers found that 69% of those polled thought parents of delinquent teens were at least partially responsible. Instead of issuing lax penalties such as small fees or parenting classes, we should be holding parents legally responsible for their children's bad behavior. Today, I will inform you on the reasons why and convince you on how these reasons can make a difference. You will learn how incentives for parental involvement will increase when the prospect of legal ramifications are in place, also how enforcing parental responsibility will lessen costs transmitted to society, and how children will hold themselves more accountable because of concerns for their parents. Unfortunately, the parental responsibility laws that we have in place now are not stringent enough and therefore lack in effectiveness. In an article written by Boundless.com regarding different parenting styles, it states that children raised in an uninvolved style of parenting are usually emotionally withdrawn, fearful and anxious, perform poorly in school, are prone to bad or violent behavior, and are at an increased risk of substance abuse. Enforcing stricter legal ramifications will trigger incentives for parents to become more involved in order to better guide or change their child's misconduct. It has been proven that acknowledging and responding to children's behavioral problems requires crucial and timely parental participation. There are arguments that state that the main reason for juvenile delinquency stems from deep structural family problems, like abuse or financial instability, making it harder for those parents to be responsible and fully engaged. In this case, bringing attention to the parents is perhaps most important. Imposing legal consequences could highlight serious problems affecting the children in a troubled home and could shine a light to solutions and options that the parents may not have otherwise known about. Being able to compel parents to have a more adequate involvement in their children is just one reason to promote legal consequences. Once we hold parents at fault for failing to control a child's actions, it justifies passing on tremendous costs, usually transmitted to society, to the parents. As we have already learned, the disruptive behavior of a child is a reflection of inadequate parental intervention over time. According to George Batten, author of The Main Cause of Budget Problems is School Discipline, children that are disruptive in school or society via the criminal justice system cost the system extra money either in school resources and time or judicial police resources, as well as in the more obvious costs such as vandalism and graffiti. Furthermore, student dropout costs could amount to over $235,000 per child over a lifetime. Some may argue that these measures are unjust because some children may have neurological disorders that involuntarily influence how they think or act. For this, there are therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, medications, and treatment facilities and groups that can all help in managing these conditions. As a matter of fact, this is even more reason to motivate parents to be more vigilant and hands-on. Although it may seem as though unruly children have no conscience or feelings, research says otherwise. The threat of or fear that parents would be legally punished for the kids' wrongdoings hold these children more accountable for their own actions. Children with chronic disciplinary problems do not necessarily comprehend the consequences or tend to not care about the punishments that could be instilled on them due to their actions. However, knowing that parents can be held responsible for substantial fines or even be incarcerated will deter children from committing an infraction and prevent further disruptive behaviors. Prevention, after all, is an important step in behavior modification. Holding parents legally responsible for their children's actions is one of the most effective ways to reform our children's misconduct, but also parents' inadequate involvement. It is imperative that we have legal ramifications for parents in order to force their hand to become more involved, aid in reducing or eliminating the costs to society that these actions yield, and in order to hold the children more accountable. Today's headlines involving children are shocking and oftentimes tragic. Lawmakers have the power to change these outcomes and enforce stricter laws. I believe it is worth it for the sake of our youth and our public welfare. Thank you.
Can it be under 6?